So good morning, and honourable members and colleagues. So thank you for the invitation to appear today as part of your study on military health system and the provision of health and transition services under the Canadian Forces Health Services Group. I didn't add veterans there, I kept serving. As the chair mentioned, I am a senator, but I'm also a veteran, having recently just retired from the Canadian Armed Forces as a Rear Admiral. I'm also a service spouse, I'm a mother of two, and I'm also a military mom because my son is a Reserve Force member. I enrolled in the Canadian Armed Forces in 1989 as a nursing officer. During my 34 years with the military, I've been posted across Canada and deployed overseas to Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Afghanistan. And I've served as a commander of One Health Services Group in Edmonton, covering the west and north of Canada from a health perspective, Deputy Commanding Officer of the Canadian Forces Health Services Group, and ultimately as the commander, or in effect, the CEO, COO of health services within the Canadian Armed Forces. I continue to be a member of the College of Nurses of Ontario, the Canadian College of Health Leaders, and the Royal Canadian Medical Services Association. Suffice to say, I have quite a bit of experience in the domain that we're about to discuss today. The military healthcare system is not like the sort that most Canadians are familiar with. So unlike provincial and territorial healthcare systems, the military system provides a spectrum of occupational health services in Canada. This includes medical, dental, pharma, mental and physical health across Canada and around the world. However, it's also responsible for medical and dental procurement of material and equipment, research and development, logistics and recruitment, retention and training of military health human resources. International operational health services support involves a high degree of interoperability with our allies and within multinational alliances like NATO and ABCA. The Canadian Forces Health Services Group is, in essence, Canada's 14th health jurisdiction because serving members of the Canadian Armed Forces are excluded under the Canada Health Act. Despite paying provincial taxes like any other resident, CAF members are not issued provincial health cards and cannot access health care delivery via their respective provincial health care systems. Instead, CAF members receive health services through military health care facilities and not via a local provider in their community. Health services that are not provided by the military are sourced through the provincial health care system or through private medical and dental facilities. The CAF must purchase those health services for its members from providers, often at exaggerated rates, just like non-Canadians. Despite what you've heard, funding for the healthcare system, which includes everything I previously mentioned, is a concern. As recently as 2018, an internal evaluation of military healthcare found that the period between 2010-11 and 2016-17, so pre-COVID, healthcare spending in Canada generally rose at an average rate of 3.3% per year. In other words, greater than the national inflation rate, whereas within the Canadian Forces, it was only funded at 0.7%. This demonstrates the diminished buying power within the CAF relative to the healthcare that they are expected to provide. Please excuse me. Paper, printers, not good. As I've mentioned, the CAF often purchases services for its members at higher rates despite having less to spend on health care. This is where the Minister of Defence, with their respective colleagues in Health and Intergovernmental Affairs, can emerge as a champion for health care of CAF members by working with provincial governments to negotiate better rates more closely aligned with those charged within the provincial healthcare systems, if not the same rate. But colleagues, and I use the term colleagues because we are fellow parliamentarians, funding isn't the only issue. There are structural issues related to service delivery and to human health resource side of healthcare provision in the military. Health service personnel in the CAF are fully trained sailors, soldiers, and aviators in addition to being healthcare providers. You can appreciate that there is no other career quite like it. You've talked about retention, salary, quality of life are often higher outside the military for healthcare providers, and we're posted all over the world on a regular basis, and it's extremely hard to maintain required clinical competencies. And there's a mental and physical toll. While the CAF is not a licensor or regulator of health professionals, there's an opportunity for the CAF to lead on either a federal regulatory approval system or greater interprovincial recognition of licensing, in other words, portability. As I mentioned, military health care is unlike provincial medical or dental care systems. Given resource challenges within CFHS, both human and financial, coupled with urgent need to recruit new and more diverse CAF members in general, policy changes that have led to the retention of members for longer with more complex health requirements, is critical that we think healthcare in the Canadian Armed Forces. Thank you, and I welcome your questions.
Senator